I've always wanted smart shades in my home, but they've always been a little too cost prohibitive. And the SmartWings woven wood blinds that are in this video are no exception. However, SmartWings does offer some motorized roller shades that are quite a great value for your money, bringing a very affordable option into the picture. I say this because comparable prefabricated blinds cost about the same as those SmartWings roller shades, but the roller shades give you a way to add convenience to your living space, and those manual ones don't do so. There's nothing more satisfying and easy than calling on your preferred digital assistant and telling them to prepare your space for your arrival. Or even if you were using the remote, if you didn't want to tie them to your favorite digital assistant. Before we get into this video, I want to disclose that SmartWings reached out to me and provided the blinds for my studio space and theater. They did not tell me what to say or do in this video, and they are seeing this video at the same time you are. I do, however, recognize the bias it creates in my situation because I didn't pay for these blinds. But if I can offer any consolation, I can confidently say I would have purchased these blinds regardless of them sending them to me or not. I'm just lucky enough to have your viewership support that makes this type of thing possible. With all that said, let's get into this video. Each blind came individually packaged, and it really took a beating in the shipping process to me. I will say the series of shades that I did request came in 2 different shipments, and one fared better than the other. But that's not a reflection of SmartWings. That's completely up to the shipping company that they used, and they used multiple ones to send these out to me. Each of the blind was clearly labeled on the top of the shade with what you ordered online, showing the name, type, and the dimensions, as well as the other reference information that you included it. This is nice and was helpful in organizing the smart shades in preparation for installation. Other than that, you get the mounting hardware, instructions, and other supporting accessories that you ordered. In my case, I got the solar panels and the controller, which we'll talk about more here in a minute. Each blind comes packaged in their individual boxes. This is one that didn't fare so well in the shipping process, so I pre-opened it just to make sure that the blind was okay. Within the box, you'll find the mounting accessories. This will either go inside your window well or outside, so there's 2 different ways to mount this. The blind itself is the motor right here on the left side, and then these individual mounts. I will talk a little bit about how these string pull-ups operated on one of them. I think it was because of the damage that the blind saw in the shipping process, but we'll talk about that here momentarily. One thing you're gonna wanna know prior to you booting this thing on is removing this tape that's wrapped around the string that's holding the blind up. This is the front of the blind. As you can see, this hangs down and you don't see anything. We'll look at it when it's mounted. Here's all the details for this individual blind in the order process. I really like this because it helps organize when I'm installing this. If you had multiple windows, this is really valuable. It also has the room label. If you put the room label on in the ordering process, it'll put it on this label as well. Looking at the blind as a whole, you can see these 3 slitted cutouts for the mounting gear. This goes into the blind like that and holds the blind in place. So either you have it mounted inside the window or externally. There's a little bit of play there as well, and installation is really, really simple. You take these slots and you line them up on where you want to have them installed on your window well, and just make a little mark, and then you know that you're pretty much in center with that slot. That really makes for an easy installation. I will say that my windows here are in the basement. I don't have a header wood behind this, so I'm gonna put the mounting gear right flush with the framing of the window. One thing you want to know with these little screws is not to over torque them. I mean, that's the given with any screw, but these ones are a little bit more brittle than I would expect. I've broken off a couple heads in the installation process. Granted, I am using an impact driver, so just be careful when you screw these screws in. Since I'm mounting these externally, there's one step that I didn't include that you would probably want to include if you're doing the same mounting as I'm going about, is making sure that it is level. Since I'm using the window frame as my square, I don't have to do that. But if I were gonna go up, 2 or 3 inches up here, like I would probably want to, if I had the backing behind here, or if I wanted to install, the anchors in the drywall, just make sure that you make that level. Since I'm using the window frame, everything's good to go and it looks right. All right, that's it for this. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get the blind mounted. All right, so the reason why I'm mounting this blind the way that it is on all of my windows down here, one, I want a little bit more blackout coverage, so the trim around the edges is covered a little bit more, and there's a lot less bleed through from sunlight. And the second reason is that I have these ADT access sensors within the window well. So I wasn't sure if I was gonna have enough room to mount the roller shade, but it looks like I do have enough. But again, playing it safe, in addition to wanting more blackout coverage from sunlight in the theater, of course. If you're placing an order with SmartWings, keep in mind the motor orientation of your blinds. For example, if I were to have a right side mounted motor on a window that opens this way, I would have a lot of problems mounting the solar panel or having a charger and stuff if the window was opening on that end. So keep in mind of where you want your motor orientation depending on how your window opens. If you're ordering for up and down, it really doesn't matter, but if you have these sideways opening windows, keep that in mind. So I did go with the left side mount, and I'm gonna go ahead and install the solar panel right now before I put the blind up, because it makes my life a lot easier. All right, so here is the solar panel. They come individually wrapped in some bubble wrap, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut into this and show you what it looks like. Be careful with it when doing this, just so you don't damage the solar panel. Okay, so here's the back of the solar panel. You can see with the little wire here. This is USB Type-C to connect to the motor that's available on these things. And here I am about to cut my freaking arm off. But that being said, on this other side, there are strips of 3M tape, and this is the heavy duty kind that will withstand a lot of wear and tear over time. I'm gonna prep this for install in the window. Now that I have the wing nuts installed, I gotta make sure that I pull this tape off, because if I don't, it's gonna get all twisted in the cabling and stuff, and then it's gonna make for a really bad time. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this off. I think that looks freaking great. I don't know about you. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. SmartWings ships these blinds to you in sleep mode, so you're gonna have to activate them, and that's just to avoid any damage during the shipping. So to exit sleep mode, there's a little button on the motor here, and they say to have it mounted prior to this. You don't wanna activate it on the ground or anything like that, but I understand that there are some instances by which you would want to activate this prior to installation if you were like way high up and whatnot. So to go ahead and do that is press this little button, hold it until the motor jogs, and that'll exit sleep mode. I can go ahead and plug in my solar panel and stow this cord away as best as possible. So now I don't ever have to worry about charging this motor. You see this little wire coming out? It's glued underneath. It goes to about here. I only say this because one of the blinds was damaged during shipping. This came out. This is the antenna by which it communicates with the remotes and stuff like that. So just keep in mind, be careful of that little antenna wire. I'm going to quickly walk you through how to pair these things to the remote. I have a 5-channel remote here that SmartWings was nice enough to include. Make sure that you're on the correct channel, because there's 5 different channels, and then there's access to all of them. So on this remote, I'm going to pair this thing to the 2nd channel on this remote. To do so, is to start it, is to initiate it by holding the button on the motor. Let's see if I can do this on camera for 2 seconds. Motor jogs once, and then you hold the pairing button on the remote to pair with it, and then it should jog twice. Now I have full access to this one by this remote. That's pretty neat. Pretty easy. I really love how SmartWings set this thing up. It's really foolproof at this point. Okay, so I want to talk about an issue that I had with a couple of these blinds. It had to deal with the way that they're drawn up with the cable. So I'm going to go ahead and start this one. This one is working properly, so it worked out for the video, but you see how this thing is rolling and being nicely organized as each layer of cabling is going in. I had an issue to where one was a little bit too far this way, and it was overlapping and getting stuck into the screws. The good thing about that though is that if you are any kind of a troubleshooter, you see these little screws that are holding them in place, you can move it, you unscrew it and you move it over a little bit and screw it back in. And this is really soft aluminum, so it's screwed in and held securely, no problem. Another issue that I had is that a couple of the blinds that I got, these were bent and kind of broken, but they have a lot of leeway for screwing them in, so I had to take this off and move it back in. and then try to bend it back into place so it could hold the bar that's bringing up the blind itself. Another thing to keep in mind if you're ordering these things, that could potentially happen to you. And that's probably one of the biggest frustrations of that. But I don't think that's of any fault to SmartWings. It's just the shipping companies don't give a crap, and they, are throwing these things around and got bashed and damaged in transit. Just so I can highlight my issues that I did that are completely my fault, not SmartWings by any means. I have these aprons on my window that I did not account for. And the reason that you're gonna want to account for these is because in the measuring of SmartWings website, they say that you should go 2 inches over on everything. So 2 inches taller, 2 inches over on each side, and so it maximizes the actual blackout effectiveness of the blind. So with that being said, I can't go higher because there's no backing on the header of my window because these are in the basement. So as you can see, as this goes down, it's longer than the window, so about 2 inches or so. In my mind, it doesn't look bad, but you can see initially it looks a little off because these have been in shipping mode since the whole time, but they do relax over time. That was my fault completely, not SmartWings by any sense of the word. So keep in mind the actual window that you're ordering these blinds for, because you're gonna wanna account for that information and make sure that you do it correctly. Another thing with these outer mounts, you can't set a bottom, a new bottom limit because, it's outer mount. So if I set the bottom mount like that, it's gonna end up the same and look the same. The one thing that you could do with that though is that if you have the inner mount roller ones, you can order them, 3 or 4 inches longer and then have them set and then set a new bottom limit, and then you have no problems with that. So the vertical stuff you're gonna wanna keep in mind with the outer mount blinds. One thing that I really don't like about these woven wood blinds is that SmartWings didn't include a side overhang. And this is feedback that I have for SmartWings, is that maybe just make another piece of this and hang it down the side, ship it as such to where these can kind of sit. But as you can see, it's really not aesthetically pleasing to look at because of this white mount here that's holding the bar in place. That's something that I didn't know existed with these, and that's something that they could add or revise in future versions of this type of blind. Just keep in mind that if you order them now at the time of this video, this is the look that you're gonna get. This isn't a problem if it's interior or inside of the window well, but exterior, you can see that it's very ugly. Let's talk about battery life. SmartWings says the built-in battery on the motor of these blinds lasts up to 600 full up and down cycles of the blinds, which roughly equals about 6 months before you have to recharge them. And that's, opening them once a day. That being said, I highly recommend that you invest in the optional solar panel that SmartWings offers for these blinds. For an extra 50 bucks, you can remove the worry of running out of battery and dealing with that hassle of recharging them every 5 to 6 months. SmartWings says it takes roughly 5 to 6 hours to fully charge the battery up from zero. So if you were to plug like a portable battery into this thing, just know that it's going to take, a good amount of time to charge it from zero. Moving on, another thing you're going to want to consider if you're an Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant type of person like I am, is adding the optional Smart Link for another $50. It's nice to tell Google to close the theater or open the studio blinds with a simple voice command, and I really, really love it. In my specific instance, I want to use Google Assistant to operate and manage my smart blinds by SmartWings. So with that being said, they sent me this Smart Link adapter that will allow me to connect directly to Google Home and manage and modify and do all the types of things within my living spaces that have SmartWings smart blinds in them. In the box, it's a pretty simple packaging insofar as like what's included. It's just this box, and then right on top you get this quick start guide that allows you or walks you through the setup process. You can see it's just a standard USB stick that allows you to plug in and get Wi-Fi connectivity to your smart blinds. The thing is that this doesn't come with a power adapter. I'm just going to use this Amazon Fire Stick power adapter and plug it directly in. That's kind of an annoying little looky thing here, but I have a network cabinet area that will manage and hold this just fine. The Smart Life app is a little wonky, and to get it to tie two blinds together, I just named them both the same, but then I can tell the Google Assistant to say like, hey, close both theater blinds. And then it'll start to execute that. As you can see, it's closing both of them. If I say it just for one, it will ask me, it's not sure which one. So I just named them both the same. And that's a quick little workaround in the way that I'm using these things. As you can see, I just walk into the space, tell the assistant, and then it will close those to a point to where I desire. I can also tell my assistant, hey, open the theater blinds 50%.
Sorry, I'm not sure which the theater blinds you'd like to control.
You see, that's the error that I get when I don't say both. So I can say it again. Hey, open both theater blinds to 50%.
Got it. Opening 2 curtains to 50%.
And now she's executing as such. If I don't include the word both, that's the key word there, because I had to name them both the same, because I don't want to tell it, you know, theater 1 or theater 2 the way that I named it in the setup. Here I can say, hey, open both theater blinds.
Okay, opening 2 curtains.
Is 100% positively worth every freaking cent having the Smart Link tied to my whole system here, because this literally adds a bunch of convenience to this space. So with the issues I've experienced with these blinds, I would recommend that you stick with the motorized roller shades that SmartWings offers. The design and the functionality of the woven wood needs some refining that I don't think warrant the cost of them right now. They are quite pricey because of the handmade material of the shade, and because of that price, I wouldn't recommend that you go this direction. They're absolutely beautiful and they look great. They're just not quite ready for prime time from the experience that I got from it. In my honest opinion, I would have been pretty upset if I had purchased these. Good thing I get to test them and be the reviewer and go through that whole process beforehand, and hopefully you're watching this video prior to you making that purchase. So just consider that. I say all this because pair that with the issues and the troubleshooting that I had to do with these blinds, I think that I could quite possibly make for a pretty aggravated end user or customer. So if you're considering these blinds, either hold off on the woven wood until they see some revisions to the design, or go with the motorized roller shades. The roller ones have been around for quite some time and seen a lot of customers and have had a lot of feedback and revisions, and they're legitimately some of the best blinds on the market, and the cost is much cheaper than the woven wood. I hate to be the bearer of bad news and all that type of stuff, but I have to be 100% honest with you in my experience with these. There's been a lot of issues with them, but they look beautiful and I got them all set up and everything like that. And they look and feel fantastic in my workspace. But like I said before, I would be a little bit frustrated, if not angry, or have returned them if I had purchased these with my own money. If I can make any recommendation to you out there, go with the roller shades. They are tried and true, like I said, and they are a proven concept. Not only do you get that because of the tried and true design of them, the cost is significantly less than the woven wood. That's about it for me in this install and initial impressions video. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them down below. Before I close, I must disclose SmartWings was kind enough to send these blinds out to me for testing and review, so a huge thank you to them. If you're interested in pricing and availability, I'll leave it linked in the description. Some of those will be affiliate links, so full disclosure with that. I make a little bit of revenue based on your clicks, and if you purchase through those links, it helps support content creation here on this channel without costing you anything in addition. Well, that about does it for me in this one. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, you know what to do. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I am Tomas, and I'll catch you in the next one.